Welcome you all to the Model 3 Corporate Strategy. In the previous session, I had discussed about the value chain analysis. Prior to it, in the Module 3 Corporate Strategy, we had seen about internal assessment, key internal factors, then SWOT analysis, a component of value chain analysis was discussed, half of it, or the rest part of it today we'll be seeing in the session. So as it is clearly shown in the diagram, in the previous session we had spoken about Porter's value chain model. When I talk about Porter's value chain model, in this we spoke in the previous, they were through the activities which were focused in the value chain analysis. That talks about, one is you have, the first thing we talk about is here in the value chain analysis is we have is primary activities and secondary activities. So primary activities is what value chain, which consists of the process the firm identifies basically its primary and supporting activities. Where clearly I discussed about what is primary activities. So in the diagram it is shown clear where the primary activities talks about inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales service. Supporting activities is firm's infrastructure, human resources management, technology development and procurement. So apart from that, we also saw what are the detailed explanation about this entire components of primary activities and supporting activities was discussed in the previous session. With the components of this were the explanation given out primary activities and about the supporting activities and how it is very essential for the organization. This where we also discussed, I also discussed about the how an industry value chain can be linked to the company's value chain. So firm's value chain is a part of a larger industry's value chain. The more activities a company undertakes compared to industry value chain, the more vertical integrated it is. So this diagram is where it shows the industry value chain and its relationship with the primary firm's level value chain. This diagram is again taken from the various sources as shown in the thing. So today we will be talking about how using a value chain analysis. There are two different approaches on how to perform the analysis, which depend on what type of competitive advantage a company wants to create, cost or differentiation strategy. So the table below lists all the steps needed to achieve cost and differentiation strategy. So here you could find out that competitive advantage of two types. One is cost advantage you have, the other one we talk about is the your differentiation advantage. So in the cost advantage, where this approach is used when the organization try to compete on cost and want to understand the sources of the cost. When you talk about cost, we have fixed cost, variable cost and other contingency cost which are hidden in the process of manufacturing. So here you take advantage, see the factors driven with those costs. For example, some of the good examples given which have the cost advantage of disadvantage of what factors drive those costs. For example, we are Walmart, Amazon. The Amazon example was explained in the previous session. So accordingly the steps they used in order to identify the cost advantages. First, identify the firm's primary and supporting activities. Any organizations, as clearly stated, primary activities are inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales and service. Whereas in a strategist or in an organization, the employees involved should clearly identify which are the primary activities, which are the supporting activities. So without primary or supporting activities, primary activities may not be in a position to achieve the strategic objective. The supportive objectives are you have human resources, technology and certain other components as we discussed in the previous session. So first identify the activities. Step 2 is establish the relative importance of each activity in the total cost of the product. For example, when you take about the marketing and sales department. So in the case of marketing and sales department, in order to meet the customer, in order to create an awareness about the product and the service offered by the organization to the customer, they will have to do a promotional campaigns. So that's where I discussed about the promotional campaign or IMC tools, integrated marketing communication tools or promotional elements. So there is publicity, public relations, personal selling, direct marketing, advertising, talk about internet or interactive marketing and sales promotions. So different forms of promotional elements are there. So what is the cost incurred? Each activity, if you want to advertise a product, a 10-second ad in a well-known channel on a TV or in a television media, or depending on the TRP rates, the expenses also, the cost incurred to promote an ad, put an ad in a particular channel varies from local level, national level and international channel basis. So this is one is the cost to telecast the ad which has been done. So again in the case of getting that advertisement done, you need to have maybe a person involved or a celebrity or somebody has been taken as the brand ambassador for that particular product, then message and the slogans used. Sometimes there is a issue of copyrights, that's where we spoke about IPR, intellectual property rights. So all those components have to be considered where cost is involved in the creating that advertisements. So it can be a press, it can be a print media or it can be a broadcast media. Accordingly, there is a cost involved. So that is relevant to marketing and sales departments. So step 2 is establish the relative importance of each activity in the total cost of the firm. What is that importance? So step 3, identify cost drivers for each activity. When you talk about with respect to your operations from inventory, from the input of the product to the output, there is a series of processes been taken. There is a cost incurred in the fixed machineries, or in the case of variable cost in terms of the fixed or variable cost in terms of procurement of the raw materials for the manufacturing process of the particular product. So what is that? Identify the cost drivers for each activity. It's not only a procurement, they can be a logistic, transportation, they can be a cost incurred in terms of the storing of that particular product in a thing. So there are so many other various factors are there which need to be identified, that talks in the step 3. Step 4, identify links between the activities. See, there is as very clearly told in the session 1 on value chain analysis, it is a link of serious activities, where that's where I quoted about the 5 M's. So there is a coordination between all the different departments in an organization. So it is not the procurement of product is not just related to the production department. There may be an employee, skilled employee to know which item need to be procured for which particular production of the product. Then finance department appropriate the funds or comparative statement of the different buyers, suppliers of that product has to be identified. There are so many activities, so it is all interlinked. The functional areas or the different departments which performs the, which is very, which is a part of the organization in the production process or in the a product before it comes into the market. So they are all the internal coordination among the departments take place, and that's where identify the cost drivers for each activity is to be done, and their links between the activities also need to be identified. So step 5 talks about identifying opportunities for reducing cost. How do you find, for example, in the case of instead of a batch production thing, when you instead of customize, you can have a batch production or a mass production, where in terms of, for example, where in terms of the cost incurred, you can try to reduce the cost. For example, maybe if it is a production capacity is of 100 units or 100 products could be done. If if it is money 50 underutilization of the machineries, or maybe it is a lesser number has been done, then automatically there is a cost. What is the cost can be? It can be found to be costly. In that cases, reduce the costing can be done by seeing that the whatever the batch capacity is been maximally utilized. So these are the first 5 steps one can see across the cost advantage. Identify the firm's primary and supporting activities. Step 2 is establish the relative importance of each activity in the total cost of the product. Step 3 is identify the cost drivers for each activity. Step 4 is identify links between the activities, and step 5 is identify opportunities for reducing the cost. This is in related to the cost advantage. When you talk about the differentiation advantage, the firms that strive to create superior products or services use differentiation advantage approach. For example, your Apple, which I had already discussed in the, and Samsung, where I discussed in the, about it in the previous session. So Apple, it is the iPhone, it's quite expensive, but it has a unique feature of security, privacy about the data is seen on much higher side compared to the other competitive product. And Samsung, there is an electronics, where in case of Samsung also, you have a cell phone where the NS5 or something, it's a 5 version, you can fold the phone into a what is it, into like a laptop, you can use it, or your functions can be carried, it can be made, a screen can be folded and kept it across also. That features are available. And we talk about this Starbucks coffee, where a coffee which is normally available in a restaurant would cost 30 rupees, whereas in a Starbucks, with a particular person's name has been written on it, and it has been given in a customized manner, so that it may cost you some 750, 650, the tariff, I mean the cost of the coffee can vary. So there is a differentiation. The reason is how presentable, the way it has been presented, the cost of the product, and the basically we talk about the what is it, the taste of the product. So all this has been considered. So that's what. So in this differentiation advantage, to identify that there are 3 steps. One is identify the customer's value creating activities. Step 2 is evaluate the differentiation strategies for improving customer value. Step 3 is identify the best sustainable differentiation. So in this using we see a value chain analysis, which that what you can, a company can take a competitive advantage either through cost advantage or through a differentiation advantage. This is about the VCA thing. Next we will talk about with reference to the advantages and disadvantages of value chain analysis. What is the advantages and disadvantages? The very well concept says that it is it creates profit thing. So all the sub activities are covered, managed efficiently, will lead to the cost controlled effectively in the value chain. Customers is maximized, enables the company to earn profit. So basically what happens when you are in a key as the primary, when the firm is in a position to identify the key primary and supporting activities, then automatically the value of the each component can be clearly known. So in that process what happens, the sub activities also can be clearly identified, where managing the activities in the organization will be done efficiently. This in turn will control, cost control will be effectively done. So once the cost is controlled, automatically is effectively allocation of the resources has been done, where your wastage is not there, duplicacy is not there. So automatically there is a reduction in the cost happen. Once a reduction in the cost happens, the product can be given at the affordable price to the consumer. In turn, it can have, not only that, in turn it can enhance earn the profits for the organization. Cooperation, this is second point where we talk about this. In the case when you talk about cooperation, we talk about this cooperation, where is the most important relationship with the customers. Coordination results, as I have told you very clearly, interlinkages within the different departments or interlinkages with the certain activities there, where there can be a win-win situation, collaborative strategy, where it is that the concern for the self and the concern for others is also being considered. So in this along with the customer, so automatically this will give a profitable situation and also can create a market awareness for the firm. So third one we talk about is return on investment, ROI. Most of the companies where they think about is ROI. So return on investment. So what does ROI talks about? Initially, it is difficult to attain a break-even point. When it is a new startup or when it is a new firm, it's not that easy to identify the break-even point. But as a startup or as an entrepreneur, a business proposal has to be prepared in such a way that they should be in a position to know that when the break-even point, that is a point where there is a no profit or a no loss zone. So beyond that break-even point, whatever the firm achieves is going to be a profitability to the organization. So that particular point it can need to be identified. So where initially it is difficult to attain the break-even point and expected return on investment, but with effective communication and coordination between the partners and the stakeholders of the organization, it can be done in the long run. So that's why when the business proposal has been prepared, where at 1 year what is it, at 3 years time where are they, and 5 years time. So that's why they prepare across there whatever the trend, the forecasting can be done, and an organization could, and after what particular point, break-even point, the company can earn the profits. The next we talk about increased competitiveness. Companies to cope with increased competition current scenario can be done by sharpening the sub-activities. So duplicacy can be removed, deficiencies can be overcome and also I spoke about the previous session of the SWOT analysis, strengthening on the strengths, trying to and trying to overcome the weakness or trying to avoid the threats and the weakness. But we saw the SWOT analysis model also. In that way you can, sharpening your sub-activities can be done with the value chain and formulating plan to stand competitive in the long run. So these are the advantages along with the certain other multiple benefits. Yes, I spoke about the Toyota Kirloskar lean manufacturing system, where the concept of total quality management concepts such as Six Sigma, where the defective product in millions of the product is minimized or is very negligible, then automatically rejection rate is less, means the success rate of the product is out is more, then it gives a better and for our competitive advantage for the firm when it is supplying to its customers. Then 5S concept, total quality management, then focuses on improving efficiency of the operations and supply chain. So achievement of perspective of developing a competitive edge can not only share value of the edge through value adding activities like product development needs shift paradigm for the supply chain to the value chain. So there need to be a perceptual shift should be seen from this just a supply chain to a value chain. Then improved customer service. Today the people don't mind paying an additional penny extra in order to buy the product, but what they looking for is a branded product which can meet to the customer's expectations, and also at the same time if there is whenever required there is a after sales service prompt accessibility of the after sales service of the product is also plays a very key role for a customer. So that's where improved customer service generates a trust and a trust for the company. For example, you would have seen that maybe if myself, I had taken a Titan watch some 20 years back, where I had given my birthday details of mine and also wedding anniversary details to the Titan. In the database I had provided. So every year before my birthday or before that somewhat 3-4 days are there is a message I receive that there is some offers for your birthday which you can use it to in the near outlet, and they wish it on my birthday that you are looking out for any new variety or any sort of services like that. The SMS comes. Look at that is a customer service. They remind you somewhere 2 decades back it has been procured, but still that they remember the automatically generated message or SMS has been sent. So it makes them to remind that yes, if you need anything you can come back to us. That sort of a reminder has been put across, and that makes the customer to feel good also to see. So there is it is there in the customer's mind that if they need a watch, I can go back to the Titan. That sort of a thing, they have a customer service. So this not only builds a good rapport, but also it optimizes the service and collaborates their process at every stage of the value chain for improved customer experience. Then we talk about the last is the cost savings and lesser delivery times. A well-managed value chain saves on cost and reduces turnaround time of delivery also. So on-time delivery is also very, very essential. That's where you can see about the Amazon. You can track once you have ordered, your order has been placed, you can track your order where it is, what time it will be reaching, and they will send, there will be a message that so and so person will be delivering it. For any information you can contact that person, sort of a thing. So this makes the customer feel to know where the delivery is and whether it will be reaching on time or not. So that really gives a competitive advantage for the company compared to its competitors. So refined value chain continuously and eliminating redundant activities help the companies to save on cost and timely delivery. So these were the advantages of value chain analysis. creates profit, coordination, cooperation with the proper coordination, return on investments, increased competitiveness, multiple benefits like where they have value added activities in any product development, and there can be a paradigm shift from supply chain to value chain, improved customer service and cost savings and lesser delivery times. So, this was about the benefits or the pros of a value chain analysis. See, anything good, there will be consequences also. They can be observed a negative or demerits also. Like how a coin has a two faces, you have a head and a tail. Even any product, anything for that, there will be a merits and demerits also. So, like that there are certain demerits or disadvantages, like it lacks flexibility. Value chain analysis cannot be adopted to all the business situations. So, it varies from organization to organization, from sector to sector. Adopted in manufacturing industry, not feasible for other type of business. To know the when it is a production process, you can easily identify inbound activities, operations, outbound activities, marketing and sales could be easily identified. But if it is a service oriented industry, how do you identify those some of the activities? So, there it may not be feasible for all the types of the business. It has a wider scope which takes ample time to finish entire value chain for the company. So, value chain is well known in industry, applicable for people who have expertise. To know, say for example, to appreciate about value chain analysis in a firm, the person should have a knowledge, should have an expertise skill about what value chain is, what are the activities, primary activities and secondary activities, how to minimize the cost and how to have a cost advantage, how to overcome the, how to encash on the differential competitive advantage our industry firm can have. Those knowledge or the expertise skill as an employee should possess. If not, it will be just in terms of words and in practicality, achieving value chain analysis becomes a little cumbersome or tedious for the firm. So, value chain analysis is utilized mainly by supply chain and operations executives and overlooked by leaders of the strategic positions, which can degrade a strategic effect for understanding. So, it's no value chain is not very restricted to the production or the supply chain department. At a strategic management or as a strategist who is the one who is developing a vision, mission, long-term objectives and short-term objectives, those people also should become a part of this process. So that in turn it can reduce the cost. But that what happens is basically it has been seen that it is restricted to or it has been seen mostly used by the operations executives compared to the strategic positions. That is where it may have a certain lacunas or demerits can be seen. So, business information systems are not properly designed with the restrict the company to receive information from value chain analysis. And maybe they can be some of the components can be oversight, can be left out or ignored, which care where the business information systems are not properly designed. If not properly designed, then automatically that can become a disadvantage or a demerit of a value chain analysis. So, this was about the advantages and disadvantages of value chain analysis. The next we will be talking, this is a representative company value chain. As we had already seen about this in our previous slide also, which are the primary activities, which are the secondary activities of the value chain and what are the each activities performed. So, for example, supply chain management, activities cost and asset associated with purchasing fuel, energy, raw materials, parts and components. This actually the slide has been taken from one of the external sources. The references as provided by the syllabus, as provided in the syllabus. For the better understanding of value chain analysis, this slide has been used for the educational purpose. So, this is what where energy, supply chain management such as activities or cost thing which are related to raw materials, parts of components, merchandising, exhibiting the product, consumable items, vendors, receiving, storing, disseminating inputs from suppliers and inspection and inventory. So, operations are the activities of cost and asset associated with the covering inputs from inputs into final product. So, that is what we talk about the production, assembly, we talk about the packaging, equipment, maintenance, facility, operations, quality assurance, environmental production. For example, if you could see where I had an opportunity to visit KMF Nandini Dairy. So, where from the process of a milk has been procured. So, there milk has been procured from the farmers in From there it goes into a it goes to the process where there is some processes goes. Then after that the milk gets packed as half a liter, 1 liter, 5 liters packaging happens. And again in the milk there are different variety quality, fat content quality of milk. There is a green color packet, orange color packet, or blue color packet. Depending on the thickness or the fat content in the milk, it has been segregated. So there you may feel that there is a order processing, there is a packaging. So they'll have to shift. If it is a half a liter, different types of packaging process happens. If it is a 1 liter, again a different type of packaging. If it is a blue color, the different the packaging of the whatever the polythene cover, the packaging material which goes is of a different size and different color based on the whatever the order processing which has been taken place. And also delivery vehicle operations, maintaining a networks with the dealers and distributors. So every day morning, so if there is, and the milk has been a perishable goods, it cannot be stored for a longer time. It has to be consumed in a one particular within a particular hours. So automatically they need to have a strong distribution network. If not, if there is a delay, automatically that can spoil the milk. So there also they need to concentrate on number of dealers and distributors of the milk. So sales and marketing. So activities, cost and asset related to sales force effect, advertising and promotion, market research and planning, and dealers, distributors support. So for example, if there is any new product coming into the market, how the consumer are going to accept that product, they need to conduct a pilot study. Maybe some sampling testing can be done with the consumers, and they can be asked whether the consumer is willing to buy that product or not, and what is the opinion. Maybe a sample could be given randomly, or feedback from the consumer can be taken, so that accordingly retune. If it is whatever, if there is any negative or demerits, retuning of the product can be done, and finally it can be launched into the market if it is a consumer durable products. But in the case of electronics, certain products like automobile industry, manufacturing of the car, that's where if the launch of the car, a promotional campaign like free test drive has been given to the people who are interested, can come and have a free test drive and give their feedback, or where they can do the booking purchases. These are some of the promotional campaigns hosted by the company to create an awareness about the new product in the market and to their consumers. So that is one of the things you could see. So service activity costs that are associated with providing assistance to the buyers, such as installation. For example, when you buy maybe you buy a washing machine, there is a process which are involved. Whirlpool washing machine, then in the production of that machine, there is a process. There is an outdoor container happens. There is a engine or a motor has been fixed, and there are certain process depending on the cages, number of cages. There is a front end, there is a top end loader which is there. So the entire process outside when it comes, again after that, after once a product has been purchased by the consumer, how to use that product. So there is a sales executive who comes and shows how the operations has to be done, what are the do's and don'ts in using that particular machines or a washing machine or a product has been explained. So this is about the sales and service. In case of any damage happens, in case of any repair, what are our spare parts and and what is where to contact the customer service contact helpline number, so that how they respond, the response in terms of the customer queries, maintenance and repair, technical assistance, buyer inquiries and complaints. All this activities come under the service oriented. So all these activities are a part of your primary activities. So supporting activities, we talk about product R&D, technology and system development. So the cost related to R&D process design improvement, equipment design. For example, if you are we talk about the laser, we talk about the laser more idle making. So basically where which particular size you need the idle and what material is being used in making that particular idle. They are machines. So the instructions have to be properly fed to the machines, and design equipments. They are the proper those fitting tools have been put so that you get in that particular shape and size of the product or the idle which is you are looking in. So computer software development, telecommunication systems, your computer aided design, all these are the supporting activities. Human resources management are the, for example, as I've told you in the previous session, identifying the right person for the right job at the right time with the right competency. So basically what does it talk about? Right competency means the required skill and the knowledge an individual should have in order to perform that particular activity. So that has to be done. Hiring and training regularly, maybe on the job or off the job training can be provided to the employee to get hands-on skill or hands-on experience about the machineries, and all the training has to be provided in terms of safety and security measures has to also be information has to be shared with the employee, so that and also compensation of all the types personnel should be provided. Labor relations activities, for example, when we talk about in the case of garment industry, if there are employees more than 30, so they need to have a scritch, or they need to provide a certain pick-up drop facilities in case of the employees are being made to work in the late shift or overtime. There are certain rules, regulations are laid down by the labor law department for the government, so that that particular state government, which has to be followed and adhered to by the organizations. So those things have to be taken. Development of knowledge-based skills and core competencies. General administration, when you talk about asset related to accounting and finance, legal regulatory affairs, safety and security, I spoke about management of information system. Today data is money. So safety and security of the data or information is very, very essential for the organization. So forming strategic alliances, collaborating, and trying to maintain other overhead functions has to be taken. So this was a representative of a value chain analysis. What are the activities which are related to primary and supporting activities? With the clear understanding of these activities, organization can concentrate on where they can minimize the cost, and also where they can take a competitive or different advantage can be taken in making their product or service much better off compared to the competitors. So this was all about a representative of a value chain analysis. So next there is an example which has been, again this slide has also been taken from through external sources, where this talks about an example of an airline activities that fit portals category for inbound logistics and the Singapore and the outbound inbound logistics, along with the cost saving opportunities and initiatives. So if you could see in the previous slide, we spoke about the primary and supporting activities. Here we see how the cost, all the different activities which are associated with each component was discussed in this slide, where what are the primary activities, what are the activities which are connected with each element is being seen here. So again in this slide we can talk about what are the activities, examples of airline activities that fit portals category, and how cost saving opportunities and initiatives can be seen in this case. As I have told you, inbound logistic, aircraft, fuel, food and drink. Then where you have got is you can have efficient fuel, efficient aircrafts, decrease of waste in food and drink can be taken care. Operations, air and gate operations, such another ticketing, flighting, baggage handling, all this. So repairs account for 4% of or less than 1% for the things arrivals. So in the case of outbound logistic, flight connections, intermediate flight connections, where routes are added and terminals to maximize load factors. Marketing and sales, promotion and advertising, where you can have a enhanced brand image, social media by a low way to improve the relationship with the customers. Then we talk about service pre and post flight services, where online meals and seats bookings allowed for forward planning. So like that, these are the, for example, HRM recruitment and reward training, where training employees can control the waste and you can overcome any duplicacy. And procurement, acquisition of aircraft, where you have a culture of hard bargaining. This was just an example about using the value chain to explore cost savings of Singapore Airlines. This slide has been taken from one of the external source for the understanding of the student. So in the previous slides you saw what are the primary activities and supporting activities, what are the interlinked elements, and how each activities can be, in each activity what the sub-activities one can say across was seen. Along with this, in this particular sign, how individual can cost saving opportunities can be seen was seen here. So this was about the value chain, primary and supporting activities. So in order, you can say that the process of conducting a value chain is, as you have told very clearly, it is discussed, identify the activities. So to understand a better to have effective utilization of this concept of value chain, one needed to be clear, as an organization need to be very clear about the primary and supporting activities. Identifying all these activities within the organization value is essential. Step 2 is assess value, which is got priority wise which are the primary, which are the secondary. In the primary also, those sub activities which holds of a higher importance and can where the cost can be minimized, so that you as a company or the firm can have a cost advantage. So that is value added by each activity to the final product or service. Assessing has to be done. Determine how each activity contributes to meeting customer needs and preferences. Third one is we talk about cost analysis. Analyze the cost associated with each activity to understand the cost drivers and areas of cost reduction for efficient improvement. So, cost analysis, instead of customized, maybe you can have a mass production, batch production, or in the areas where is it a parallel activity can be carried out in order to save time. So, such activities have to be identified, and also where areas where cost reduction can be taken care. Step 4 is about the benchmarking. So, comparing the organization value activities and cost with the competitors or industry benchmark to identify the areas of strengths or weakness. So, benchmarking is where are you, what is the industry standard, where do you stand, or are you above. It is always better to be within the standard or above the standard is also fine, but below the standard may not have a firm's product may not have a competitive advantage in the market. About benchmarking, we will be seeing it in the coming session. So, fifthly, develop strategies. Based on the analysis, develop strategy to enhance strength, mitigate weakness, exploit opportunity, and defend against threats within the value chain. So, one has to come out with the appropriate strategies. So, these are the 5 components involved in process of conducting value chain analysis: identifying activities, assess value, cost analysis, benchmarking, and finally develop the value strategy. So, overall, to conclude, challenges of value chain analysis. As I have discussed in the previous session also, the major challenge is faced is data availability. When you talk about primary activities, supporting activities, obtaining an accurate data and relevant data for each activity within the value chain is a challenging. It is a cumbersome job, especially for very clearly told intangible, where you are not able to quantify. In a quality oriented, getting it into an units or into a quantifiable unit, it is a cumbersome and a tedious process. Activities like technology development or customer service. Then integrating issues, as I have told you in the previously, advantages is if it is a good cooperation, yes, it leads to a better enhancement of delivery of the product to the customer is seen. But integrated issues, integrating the findings of the value chain analysis into an organization strategy and operations requires cross-functional coordination. As I have very clearly told that value chain is interlinkage of activities among the departments associated with primary and supporting activities. If these activities interlinkages are not being done properly, then again it becomes a tedious process. Integrity is an issue. There can be a conflict at times. There can be a slight negligence or ignorance can lead to lots of mismanagement of activities in the department or at the organizational level can be seen. So, next is the dynamic environment. The value chain is not static and can change over a period due to the technological advancement, market shifting, or changes in the customer's prefer. So, today the customer may prefer a particular type of a product in a particular form, but tomorrow it can change because of the technological developments, because of the competitors being in the market with a better product, with the better services being provided. So, automatically customer preferences can also change. So, there can be a market shift. So, this continuous monitoring and adaptation becomes an essential component of value chain analysis. So, these are the basic challenges in a value chain analysis a firm can see. One, as discussed, data analysis, integration issues, and dynamic environment. So, in overall, to conclude that value chain analysis is a powerful strategic tool managing value chain analysis is a powerful strategic management tool helping organizations to systematically analyze their activities, cost, and competitive position. By understanding each activity, as we discussed, the primary and supporting activities and the sub-activities in the organization, each activity contributes to the value creation and to have a competitive advantage in terms of cost or in terms of differentiation. So, organization can make informed decisions to improve the efficiency, reduce the cost, and duplicacy of the work can be done, and in case of any waste has been happening, that can be monitored, not only in the cost, in turn it comes out into the cost and enhance overall performance in delivering value to the customers and stakeholders. So, value chain being one of the powerful tool, it has got its own benefits, and monitoring the value chain analysis also, as discussed in the previously, it is a challenging task, but still adopting VCA makes a company to have a competitive advantage, and in turn can provide a profitability to the organization. That is what the very figure itself shows, that if you take care of these activities, the company can think about the profit. So, this was about a brief overview about the value chain analysis. We will come back shortly for the next concept in the next session.